Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a very long overdue sketchbook tour. It's insane how overdue this is. This is a sketchbook that I actually think I might have started at the end of 2017 and then continued into 2018 and then finished up the last couple of pages just this year. Sketchbooks take me a very long time to fill up, and that's mainly because I work on so many at one time. I tend to have like 4 or 5 sketchbooks on top of my journals at the same time. So I like to jump around and mix things up. Something else to note too is that this is a Moleskine Art Plus sketchbook. These are my favorite sketchbooks to use. They're great for mixed media, for drawing, anything. I really like the paper quality and it holds up. And then just something else to note too is that my sketchbooks are very, very different from my art journals. They're totally 2 separate things. My art journals is where my finished works of art are. They're a lot more in detailed. Those to me are like finished pieces. My sketchbook is where I plan ideas, I test materials, I just keep things really loose. I'm not really thinking about a finished thing. Sometimes I write notes in here. You'll probably see a lot of that in here. So my sketchbook is really just kind of my dumping ground and like safe place where I can kind of put anything that I want to. Let's go ahead and dive into the tour. So the first thing you'll notice is that the front of my sketchbook I always like to cover with stickers, same with the inside cover. All of these stickers, minus these ones up here on the top, this is just some skeleton washi tape. All of these stickers are my own, and I have sold them in my Etsy shop. Or I will bring them back to my Etsy shop. But yeah, those are all of my own stickers and logo. This is from an art journal, one of my favorite art journals. This is a really old one. And this was from the Tarot sticker set, which I will have back up in my Etsy shop soon. Now the inside of my sketchbooks, I always like to go crazy with just piling in stickers and random things that I find and just having fun. This was from, this is actually a piece of a cardboard, I think a beer container or a beer box of some sort. These are from another artist. I'm actually unsure of who it was. Someone gave these to me, so this was like passed to me by 2 people, so I'm unsure of who the artist is on this. Just some washi tape and some fun little stickers. Springtime Carnivore, this was a sticker that came in a vinyl record. This was just some Sacred Geometry stickers, not sure where that's from. Frida Kahlo sticker, my LACMA member sticker. Little Pine, my favorite vegan restaurant in LA that I love. This is also another artist. This is not me. This is from Lady Beaver. Anyone that I mention, I will either pop up on the screen or I'll put in the description down below, but I believe this is Lady Beaver. Her artwork's really fun and funny. This is from my Bandu planner. I have no idea what this random sticker is. My logo and the Winchester Mystery House when I was in San Jose in 2018. And then I got really bad food poisoning. Good times. This was a day that I was obviously struggling coming up with what to write, or what to draw rather, and then I ended up writing a bunch of stuff. I do this a lot where I'll just kind of write memos to myself, which you can see I was kind of trying to do here. You're so hard on yourself, take a moment, sit back, marvel at your life, you know, get your stuff together, stop having an art meltdown, which we've all been there. A lot of you have probably seen this one. This was a little kind of mini spread, very art journal style, inspired from a Fiona Apple song. I was really like deep into Fiona Apple and going back and listening to her music, so that's what that is. This is some of her lyrics. This little piece of paper actually, because I started this up in Big Bear, our family cabin, from Millie's desk. This is actually some of my grandma's old stationery, which I think is really cool. But I believe this is in the Book of Bun Zine. So you'll see a lot of these pieces that are in here, or just like pages, are also in the Book of Bun Zine. Continuing on, this is definitely an old one. Something that I like to do is I jump around in the pages a lot, so I don't necessarily work chronologically. This was from an old Art Snacks unboxing when I used to do them on my own channel and before I started making videos for Art Snacks. So yeah, this is a really old one. This might be a 2017 one, honestly. Yeah, it's gotta be end of 2017. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and see whenever I did this, but there's a video of this actually somewhere on my YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure. Kind of a page of random stuff. I like to do this sometimes, just have scribbling that I'll either layer on top of later or just as a page filler. These are kind of like scraps from other projects. This was a different project I was working on. This was some sketches from a zine. So I try to save little scraps and they end up in my sketchbook often. I really like to do quotes, or like I'll illustrate quotes, or I'll put quotes with weird patterns or colors, just as something fun to do. And I bookmark so many quotes on Pinterest, so it's like I might as well do something with them. So they oftentimes will end up in my sketchbook. Again, just kind of messing around. This is when I was kind of playing around with like hooded figures and negative space, and I was doing a lot of intestines, so I don't really know what this is. This might have been partially a cover-up, and maybe I was sticking some random things in here. Not entirely sure. Again, more sketching girls with hoods and using negative space. This was something I was really into. I also was going through the faux washi tape phase. I was really into that, of kind of drawing that everywhere. So this is just me kind of messing around on a few things. At the same time that I was doing this sort of drawn washi tape, I was using a lot of this neon pink color, which I think is a Liquitex paint color. I'm not entirely sure. If you guys do have any questions about materials on certain pages or anything, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to address questions that way. I think that's probably easier than me trying to list a bunch of stuff out. But the pink, the neon pink, I loved using this. It's a really fun contrast, but it doesn't scan well all the time. So for scanning and printing, it's not great, but it's really fun in a sketchbook. So I use it a lot in my sketchbooks and not necessarily in like finished pieces. So this page is kind of crazy. I don't really know what's going on here. Clearly I was playing with some resist things, and these are some random sort of just kind of notes and doodles. I think this pertains to a rotary phone that I had purchased from a yard sale on my street. And I think I was going to incorporate it into a zine or something, and that just didn't come to fruition, so it just ended up here. So this is kind of just a mishmash of madness, I guess. This is definitely an older one. This is actually in the Book of Bun Zine as well. Lots of inky line work, stuff that I really like to do. Combinations of colors. It's kind of messing around. This might also be in the Book of Bun Zine. I can't completely remember. This is when I just was sketching a lot with colored pencil. Definitely something that I still like to do a lot. Moths, I draw moths a lot. This is just something that I like to, just imagery that I like to return back to. Something else you're gonna see in this sketchbook is a lot of my preliminary studies before I create the Art Snacks box breakdown videos. So when I get the Art Snacks supplies, I don't know what's going to be in each month's box. So it's kind of a bit of a mystery. So it's literally just like Art Snacks subscribers. I get my box and I have no idea. So I have to play around with the materials and come up with a concept. So I always experiment with things with the supplies and with the ideas in my sketchbook. So here is some of that here. This was a really, really old one. This was something else. I think I was playing with some gouache I had gotten, I think. I think this is gouache. I'm not entirely sure. I just was doing some studies out on my balcony of the succulents, and that kind of inspired the Art Snacks video for when I had gotten these other supplies. This next page I'm gonna skip over, but it's all zine ideas. I like to write down my ideas for zines, so that's a giant list of them back there. Again, more just kind of inking and doodling around. Nothing that crazy. This was when I was referencing scenes from Wes Anderson films, because I have that giant Wes Anderson book. So I was referencing the interior of a train car from Darjeeling Limited, so that's what that was. Just trying to practice illustrating other things and, just practicing other things. This is a very, very messy, in progress lunar spread. Yeah, I think this might have been part of a demo for an in-person workshop, and then I maybe tried to cover it with something else. This is just kind of chaos. I just never came back and finished it or did anything with it, so I'm just letting it be. And there's so many layers to it, and it's so thick that it's really not worth me trying to cover up or glue together or anything like that, so I just am kind of letting it live how it is. This is definitely in the Book of Bun Zine. I believe this is actually on the cover. This was just me playing around. This was also part of a cover-up. You can see where I have other little pieces underneath. This is a post-it. This must have been some previous illustration. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't like what was going on the next page, so I sewed the pages together and just used some different colored thread and messy stitches and mixed in some colored pencil in there, and I really like the way that looks. This is something that I like to do a lot in my sketchbooks, is just come in with some thread and either sew pages together or do things along the edges, or it's just something fun to do and have something textural and a good way to attach pages together if you ever want to do that. Continuing on, this page is definitely also in the book of Bun Zine. I remember actually working on this. This was when we were up in Big Bear again at my family's cabin. Up there, I bring a very small stash of supplies and materials, so I always like to try to challenge myself of what can I make with a very limited number of supplies. So this was what this was. I think I had just brought a couple of paint pens and maybe like one tube of paint or something like that. So that's kind of what all of this was, and just layering things up. And again, this might have been a cover-up situation over here. I'm not sure. That happens a lot in my sketchbook. Sometimes there's things that I'll draw directly on the pages underneath, and then it gets covered, and then I paint on top of it and something else goes on. It just kind of all becomes a crazy layered mess, and I just never know where things come from. But she looks cool, and I like that she fills up a whole page. I normally don't draw this big, so it's kind of just something different. So these next few pages here definitely have some art journal vibes. This was a spread that I had created after having a really terrible anxiety attack or panic attack in the middle of the post office. It was like really crowded with people, and I like felt myself having a meltdown. So that's what this was. So hence all of the letters and the outlines of people and run, panic and all that stuff. But I'm really quite pleased with the way that this turned out. Both just drawing the envelopes was a lot of fun, and I really like these combinations of colors, and it's not something that I normally use. So I was quite pleased with the way that this one all came together. This next one is also just kind of a random couple of pages with just some kind of random sketches and me just kind of drawing and painting things on top of different stuff. I believe this was also something that I did on Twitch. I also like the way that this turned out as well. You can see I was really hot on using this mint blue-green color. Here are some more kind of art snacks pages. You can tell this was, I believe, the straight up artwork that I had done for one particular box. This was me experimenting with one of the boxes. I think this might have been me experimenting with the December box, 2017, I think. Again, I jump around with my pages, so they're never in chronological order, but you can see where I was still wanted to do a gift tag thing, but I was playing with like other imagery, but I ended up doing something completely different, which I think is actually at the back of this sketchbook, so you'll see that. So this is just art snacks stuff. More random pages. This was a totally random one. I just wanted to draw a goat. So that's what that is. This one was also completed up in Big Bear. I remember specifically doing this. Again, I had a really limited range of materials, so that's kind of why it looks the way that it does. And it's also drawn on a Post-it. I was really big on drawing on Post-its. I just like doing that in sketchbooks in general. So this was kind of like my horned animal looking pages, I guess. Here I am again playing with materials from Art Snacks. This was for the Yeti gift tag from the December 2017 video, I believe. So yeah, I definitely started the sketchbook end of 2017 and then did most of the rest of it in 2018. But this was me sketching different Yeti ideas. This was the one, my like first sample one before I ended up making the final tag, which I'll just jump to it now. The final tag is in the back of my sketchbook because I didn't know where else to put him and I kept moving him around, so I ended up just taping him into this. Which the back 2 pages of my sketchbook are always just random, like I use it for swatches, other random bits of things, especially since this is an envelope anyways, so I always just end up putting random stuff back here. So yeah, continuing onward, so that was yeah, me playing around with some Art Snacks materials. Next page is kind of random. This was just me sketching and playing with some different colors. The orange and the black, I was inspired by a pattern that I had seen on a pillow, so I wanted to see what that looked like. So I kind of just used that as the backdrop. And again, sketching with colored pencil, something I really like to do. This was from an Art Snacks video, and I am using it to cover up. You can see I have 3 layers of artwork here that I just either didn't like the direction of or just covered up with other things. So there's literally 3 layers of artwork here of just random things. So this is from Art Snacks. This was just a random sketch. This is, and I'm covering this up a bit, although I doubt you'll be able to read my handwriting here. This was an idea for a zine that I was working on, and I actually still have partially in progress. It's the story of the ice cave, which was when I hiked into an ice cave in Austria when I was in Europe, and it was a pretty remarkable day and tale, so I really wanted to make that into a zine. So that's kind of the text there and me planning it out. This was something that I was working on Twitch and just sort of playing around. I might have been testing some new materials here. I also just think I was just trying to fill up the whole page and just kind of playing around again with more of the neon pink. I was going through a phase where I was doing this like shared eyeball thing with faces, so that's kind of where that is. I was definitely deep into my inking with a brush moment, hence all of these lines back here. That's all done with a paintbrush. So that's kind of what that is. But I'm happy with the way this turned out, even with so much going on. It's kind of cool. This was, I have no idea what's going on here. This was me playing around with mixing gouache and some Jane Davenport crayons together. I think this was also something that I did on Twitch, just kind of inking things out. This is from an Art Snacks Box video. This is full-blown the artwork, so not even like a practice. This is the actual artwork from it. I love the way that this had turned out. Actually, the Reaper was something that I had done for Inktober, and then I incorporated it into the video because I liked the imagery so much. But I just love it against this red pen, which is a Posca paint pen, which I just absolutely love. On this particular page, this was while I was watching the film Mother. This is something that I like to do a lot, is I just will have a colored pencil and I will sketch just whatever is on the screen and as quickly as humanly possible, just to like get ideas, and I will layer things kind of on top of each other and kind of just no pressure, really fast drawing. Whatever's on the screen, I will draw it and then I'll look up and grab another image and put it down. So I do this a lot, and then sometimes I'll come back in and ink things out, or I'll just leave them as is, as sketches, and clearly here I just left it as is, so that's what's going on there. This page, I'm not entirely sure, again with the moths, just imagery that I really like to do. I think I was playing with some new materials here, because these are definitely a combination of colors I would normally not do. So yeah, I think I was playing with some new materials here. I also might have been working on this on Twitch as well, not entirely sure. These are just some random fish head dudes. Again, something else I was also working on Twitch. I was doing a lot of sketchbook stuff on Twitch at the time. I think I had had these weird figures drawn for a long time, and I wanted to put something weird as their heads. So I did giant fish heads, which I think is kind of cool. So it's random, but I like the way it looks. Next page here is, these are pages that I was working on for another zine idea, mini zine idea I had of just doing all like creepies and crawlies. So I was kind of experimenting with different color combinations, and I really love this mint with this sort of yellow color here. And there's a lot of different materials on this. There's paint pen, colored pencil, ink, watercolor, gouache. There's literally everything is thrown at this. I never did come back and finish it. I definitely could see where I could do the scales and maybe add in more stuff, but I'm kind of just happy with the way it looks, so I just left it as is. This was definitely a more recent cover-up. This was something that I did like within this past month, I would say. This had lots of layers of random stuff, so I ended up just painting it black. And originally I was going to do just tiny little white like illustrations or line work, but just decided to do a giant quote instead, which I like because it kind of looks like a neon sign, which I think is really cool. I have some swatches over here. I don't remember what I was swatching. I think this was gouache. I had bought some cheap student grade gouache, so that's what I was swatching over there. You can actually see my sketches underneath of those Oscar party pins that I had made. So you can kind of see some of the sketches underneath there. This was from the February 2018 Art Snacks box. I was playing with the materials here, trying to figure out what I was going to draw for the little pug Valentine. So I was using Lurch as my inspiration, but you can see me trying to come up with different variations, and there's even some font underneath here too, and just playing with the materials. He's so cute. I should have made him into a sticker, honestly. I think he'd make a really cute sticker. So these pages are kind of a combination of things. This was a rough sketch that I had done for a tarot card, part of my tarot cards that I'm slowly working on, and the project's taking me forever. I hope to get back into that. But this was for the death card, I believe. So this was kind of my preliminary sketch of just kind of working out what was in my head and getting it down on paper. The proportions did not end up being accurate, and I kind of didn't like the way it looked, so I ended up going with a different sketch and kind of reworking it, but I still liked what I had originally done with it, so I put it into this sketchbook and then sort of continued it on, and then had these additional roses over here, which was from a jacket that I had painted from an Art Snacks event. So this was something that I ended up doing onto fabric or canvas actually, and then cut out and sewed to a jacket. But this was me playing with the color combinations, and I knew I wanted to do blues, but I couldn't figure out what color for the leaves, and it kind of just works out. It kind of works with this guy and the colors, and it feels like a unified page, even though it really wasn't meant to be. Here, more random things again. This might have been I was traveling somewhere or took my sketchbook with me somewhere, because you can definitely see where it was just kind of random pencil sketches and then just got really messy with paint pens and watercolor, so I don't really know what's going on here. I have a tiny little bat sketch here, which I had used for a pattern for something else. So this is just really, really random. I think I was also going through a phase of drawing creepy crawlies and spiders, so that explains that up there. More Art Snacks box stuff. This was from the April Art Snacks box, and this was from the May Art Snacks box. This was me trying to figure out the wings and layering the materials for what I ended up doing, which I think is somewhere in the sketchbook as well. This was a sample journal spread, not completed, it's definitely not finished, for my cacti workshop, so that's what this is. I oftentimes, like when I would teach in-person workshops, I would create full samples in my sketchbook, in my smaller sketchbook, so that when I would walk around and talk to students or show them samples or what have you, this was like a really easy, compact way for me to demonstrate techniques or point things out that I had done in my own samples, so that's what's happening here. But I actually really like the color combinations and sort of these lines and the tile and her pose, that I actually am kind of happy with the way that it looks, that it kind of is unfinished, but it's still detailed in the areas where it kind of counts. This was from the May Art Snacks box. This was the actual artwork. I think I'm going to do better in the future of just trying to separate the Art Snacks stuff from my own sketchbooks. I think I might try to do that with my new sketchbook that I'm working on, because I tend to kind of mix videos stuff with my personal stuff, and I think I might try to separate those out. But anywho, that's a weird personal preference. This was the May Art Snacks box, the actual artwork. So I didn't do any pre-sketches for that. I just dove right in. More Art Snacks stuff here. This was from the July 2018 box, the Melon Mania. This was me trying to figure out what the melons would look like and the color combinations. This was from a live stream. This was an Art Snacks live stream of the May box that I did during the live stream. So she looks cool, actually. I'm really happy with the way her fin looked. I think I was trying to do like a mermaid thing, even though I never participate in mermaid, but that was what I was trying to roll with there. This is just a little poem, kind of note to myself about an ode to the unfinished, to not put so much pressure on your unfinished things and savor your unfinished things. This was something that I was actually going to try to turn into a YouTube video, and it didn't, but I still really like what I wrote down here, so I just kind of left it. More random things here. This is just some random sketches, me inking things out. Something that I like to do a lot is I will just kind of sketch random things in colored pencil, and then I'll come through and I'll ink stuff out, but I won't necessarily finish it. I'll use it as like my practice page for inking, so that I can always just kind of come back to this and add more ink as a way to like warm up my hand when I need to. This was this sketch that I used and created for the dice box that I painted for James for Dungeons & Dragons. This was the illustration that I created for his character, Larry the Dragon Guy. So I had originally sketched him on just some computer paper here, used this to transfer the sketch to the box, and then I just put him into my sketchbook just because I liked the original sketch, so I wanted to save it. This is a combination of things here. Again, this is me watching a movie and sketching really quickly. This was watching Phantasm. I think I was sick or something, or I had the flu or a cold while watching this, because James and I went on a binge of watching like all the Phantasm movies, and it was great. But I actually went back and inked some of it, so you can see where this is kind of where I've taken it to the next level of I've gone from sketching it to inking it, and I actually added some watercolor in there as well. Either watercolor or gouache, I'm not entirely sure. This was just a random girl I had sketched. I believe I was going to use her on a tarot card and then didn't end up using her for a tarot card because her proportions weren't right. So same sort of thing, I just didn't want to waste the sketch, so I stuck her in there and inked her out and incorporated her into the page. These were sketches for my Twitch emotes, the emotes that I had for my chat. You can see the different 4 tiers or what have you. So yeah, these were ideas that I had sketched out. And then on the next page is where I had actually painted them. So my little emotes that are on my Twitch channel, even though I don't really stream anymore, they were little handmade painted things like this that I then scanned and then shrunk down. That was actually a really fun project to do, and I was happy with the way that they turned out. After I did my own, one of my friends wanted some done for his channel. The finals weren't in here because I ended up just putting them elsewhere, but you can see the ones that I ended up moving forward with and painting, and even kind of playing around with some of the colors here as well. This next page is another movie that I was watching, some horror movie. I don't even remember what horror movie this was. Some crappy 80s B movie, I'm sure. But you can see where I have came in and started to ink some of it out, even added some color in, and then just stopped. Filled in with some good intestines there, so there you go. This particular imagery is for a tarot card, and again, the proportions weren't accurate on the original card that I was creating, so I didn't want to waste the sketch, so it ended up in here. And then I ended up actually repeating it just because I thought that it would look cool, and again was playing with color combinations and kind of outlining and seeing if I liked it and wanted to move forward with it on the tarot card. And this is some more art snacks, me trying to work some things out. This was for the September art snacks box. Even though it says October, I was making an October calendar. So you can see where I was playing with what the pumpkins would look like and the materials themselves and layering things together. Also some of my original concept designs of what the calendar might look like. And even here kind of like my step-by-step. So like once I kind of determine what the artwork is going to be and how the materials play together, I'll actually make a quick list of how it's going to work in the video. Over here is the same story. This was from the March 2018 box. So again, me playing with the materials and layering things together, and then my notes along the side of how I was going to then actually do it in the video. These 2 pages were random blank pages, and I think they were actually like swatches that I ended up covering up and literally just finished within these past 2 weeks because it was going to drive me crazy if I had blank pages in my sketchbook. So these were just some studies that I had done while going to the farmer's market. You can actually see me working on this in a vlog. Same with this too, but I finally just gave it a blue background and inked it up a bit just to make it feel finished. And this back page, I kind of already talked about, again, some random swatches and garbage, and the Yeti from the December Art Snacks box. So there you have it. That is my really old sketchbook tour, sketchbook from a whole amalgamation of years and projects and things all put together. But yeah, always feels good to have a nice and full and chunky sketchbook completed. Again, sketchbooks take me forever to finish because I work on so many at one time, but it felt nice to have this one done. If you guys have any questions regarding supplies or materials or what have you, go ahead and leave those in the comments for me. I'll try to answer what I can, and anything else I will put in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!